Hello and welcome. Sorry, that super chat wasn't supposed to appear. Hello and welcome to Sunday Sermon on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. Nice to have you with us. Morgan McSweeney's gone. He's gone. He's resigned. You can't quit me. I resign. No, that doesn't work. You can't fire me. I quit. So here we go. In the chat, we've got Lost Missionary, we've got Viper Scott, we've got Perry Neeham. We have got Moya Man in the chat as well. We've got Tommy Lee Cadden. Hey. Okay. Right. My sound should be on now as well. I don't know. Right. Are we back? I think we're back. Yes, I know my sound was off there for a second. But we should be coming through. Right, I'm coming through. Sorry, there's like a 30-second delay on the video coming up. Sorry, and I realised I might turn my mic off when I was resetting. No sound. Yeah. I know. Give it 2 seconds. Oh no, it's too late because I'm in the past now. All okay. We're back. Lol. Thank you for bearing with me. That was a bit. That was a bit. I don't know what happened then. OBS just crashed because, this is why we can't have nice things. Where was I? Morgan McSweeney is gone. Yes! Unfortunately, I don't have any champagne on ice. I don't have any champagne. I don't have any ice. But, we're getting around there. So as I was about to say, before I was so rudely interrupted by the OBS crashing for no good reason. We've got Viper Scott in the chat. We've got Mike Dix in the chat. Is this Wayne's internet connection? Oh, you cheeky sod. Oh, I could do. He only says that because he's all the way down in Brighton. He's too far. He's too far away for me to get to him. Would Sue Gray even accept the position back? Well, we're going to get into that. Watching this video at the minute about games that have aged like fine wine. So far, Silent Hill 2 and 3 and Half-Life 2. There are some video games that are just as good today as they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. Thank God McSweeney blocked Burnham, or his position might be perilous. You're upside down going, oh, don't, Simon, please don't. My own producer on this. Okay, come on, let's start talking about this. So who is Morgan McSweeney? And this is something that a lot of people who are well into their politics like us sort of forget. Most people don't know who this guy is. This breaking news about Morgan McSweeney resigning is going to be the first time, I reckon, right? Not seen the stats on it, but I think it's going to be the first time a lot of people have heard of Morgan McSweeney. So let's talk about who he is. He was the chief of staff. He issued a public statement today saying he stepped down from the government. He accepted the responsibility for advising the PM to appoint Peter Mandelson, friend of Epstein, into the position of British ambassador to the United States of America. In his resignation, he said, when asked, I advised the Prime Minister to make that appointment and I take full responsibility for that advice. He was the main advisor. He was the Grima Wormtongue of the Labour government. And he describes the Mandelson appointment as wrong. The decision to appoint Mandelson was wrong. He has damaged our party, our country, and trust in politics himself. He said the only honourable course was to step aside, and this frames the resignation as personal accountability rather than a dismissal. He jumped before he was pushed. Basically, we can all read between the lines on this, can't we? We're good at reading between the lines on this channel. He remained supportive of Starmer in the letter. He wrote that he would continue to back the Prime Minister's mission, just from, very far away, from fucking Antarctica or something, hopefully. And Downing Street has been defending him until very recently. Last week at PMQs, Prime Minister Starmer stood up after the sixth question of Kemi Badenoch was literally, are you going to sack Morgan McSweeney? And he stood up, he went, I've got full confidence in Morgan McSweeney. And as soon as he said that, those of us watching now, and myself, who were watching on Wednesday at PMQs, immediately were like, oh, full confidence. Oh, you've got full confidence, have you? We all know what that means. Yes. So the departure appears to be fairly rapid. I mean, for anything that list Labour government do. But senior figures earlier today were still indicating that he would remain in post. So, who was Morgan McSweeney? He was the architect of Starmer's leadership victory in 2020 as to become leader of the Labour Party. He ran the internal campaign that won Starmer the party leadership. However, I think he would have won anyway. This is the thing. He gets the credit for the 2020 Starmer leadership election, but who was he up against? Rebecca Long Bailey. You know, and then apparently he was Morgan McSweeney was the central strategist in the 2024 general election. He's widely credited with designing the political and organisational approach that led to a landslide. Now, look, nothing in life is absolute, okay? There is no absolutes. We live in a universe that there's always exceptions to the rule, and we have biologists, and we have molecular biologists, and we have physicists, and we have astrophysicists, and we have people who look at the molecules that make up everything we know of in the universe, and we have scientists looking at the composition of stars, literally thousands, millions of light years from Earth. And yeah, one thing is always consistent, right? You'll always find an anomaly somewhere along the line. There'll be something that doesn't quite fit with the rest of the model. The model works for 99.9% of everything, but then you've got 1% that is the fucking platypus, which makes no sense. Make it make sense. It's a platypus. Makes no sense. So, two things can be true at once. And so we can't really say, oh, well, it was Morgan McSweeney that got Labour to win the last election. Also, at the same time, though, we can't say that it was completely because the Tories were utterly shite for 14 years and brought us austerity and Brexit and the terrible COVID response and the Liz Truss disastrous mini-budget, to name a few of their greatest shits. Yeah, we can't say it's all one or the other. And it's always annoyed me a little bit that Morgan McSweeney got all this credit for Labour winning. There were a few different factors that went into that, one of which was tactical voting. A lot of people held their nose and voted for a party that wasn't their first choice, but they understood they were voting first past the post. We need to get rid of the Tories. In the same way that in the next election, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to hold the nose, no matter what they say now, they're going to hold the nose and vote against Farage's party. Farage's lot, okay? Because having them in power and bringing Trumpian values to the UK is horrifying, is absolutely horrifying. These people want to take the great British, full English or full Irish breakfast. They want to take the roast meals, Yorkshire puddings, and all the trimmings, and they want to turn it into a Big Mac with chicken McNuggets. That's what they want to do. They want to take our culture, our heritage. They want to take our language, so we start talking like Americans. You know, that baby speak that Americans do, and you're like, why are you talking like a baby? You're a grown up. Just use real words, you weirdo. Oh no, it takes too long to use real words. I can't be bothered. I'm going to talk like a baby. I don't want any of that. None of us want any of that, right? That's what Farage is bringing. So there were several factors towards Labour's landslide victory. Morgan McSweeney was arguably one of them, but only one. I think that Labour would have won anyway. Maybe by not such a degree. I mean, they've got a 150 seat majority, but they still would have won because everyone was sick and tired of the Tories. Jovian, thank you very much for £10 super chat. In science, anomalies are where progress comes from. Is this the case in politics? Politics? Progress? I don't think those words deserve to be in the same sentence, to be honest with you. I mean, the definition of madness as attributed or perhaps misattributed to Albert Einstein is trying the same thing and again and expecting a different result. You could also use that exact same idiom to explain politics. It's just doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. So yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. But you have reminded me, and thank you very much for the super chat. You have reminded me that I need to set the super chat goal for Diz, obviously. So let's get ourselves some confetti down our blouse. Don't do it just yet because it takes a couple of minutes to actually sink in or something. I don't know. If you put a super chat in too quick after I set the target or set the goal, it doesn't let it in for some reason. I don't know. If you ever went Trumpian, I'll be out this country faster than you could say 51st State, says the Hiddenite. Yeah. Well, hopefully by then I'll have my island in some sort of a semblance of order so we could get I reckon we could get about 30 of us living on that island, you know. It's not that big, but it's not that small either. And, you know, like fucking commie. Oh, God, it will turn into Lord of the Flies so quick, wouldn't it? Who used my fucking toothbrush? Could you imagine? Oh, shit. Anyway, but the good news is now I can stay in Panama for as long as I like. So yeah, I don't know if that works for the person I'm with. I don't know if that works. I was in York today, and there were signs when I went to York Minster. It said if you live in York, you get in for free. And I thought if they do that in Durham or Liverpool, I could probably get in, right? With something with my address on. But if you're with someone, like say I was with Catherine and she's got a Durham address, right? And we're like, well, we'll both live in Durham, but only she's got her driving license on her that says the address here. Would we still be able to get in? I don't know, but I kind of like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's shit that I've got to pay 20 quid. We've got to pay 20 quid each to go see a cathedral. But then again, I understand how much it costs to keep these cathedrals maintained. So there's a bit of that. And no one's forcing me in there. We were going to go this morning for the Sunday service, literally for the Sunday service, because you get in for free and just have a quick look and then walk out again. But yeah, unfortunately for us, we overslept. It's one of the reasons why I didn't do a show this morning as well, by the way. Because last night we went to see Suede, the band, you know, the band Suede. And I realised it's been 30 years. It's been 30 years. I feel like the old lady in Titanic. It's been 30 years since I first saw Suede. But of course, I got the set list. So there it goes. Really good. They didn't do Wild Ones. They didn't do Still Life. They didn't do... they didn't do quite a few sort of ones that I like, but then, you know, they were trying to get the new songs out, and I kind of understand. They didn't do Life is Golden, which is from the Blue Hour album, which I really, really like. I really like that one. But love Suede. They've got a song called Dancing with the Europeans. They're very pro-European. I have a copy of the Blue Hour, and inside that copy of the Blue Hour by Suede, I have a European flag that has been signed by the band. And I honestly had to just... the loveliest blokes. Plus, Matt Osman, the bassist out of Suede, is the brother of Richard Osman out of Richard Osman's House of Games, and the rest is entertainment. Yeah, small world, I know. Graham, does your private island in Panama have oil, minerals, or mangroves worth something? Are you would say no oil. Mangroves aren't really worth anything, I don't think. Well, not when they're dead. No, I've got some solar panels. That'll do. Rainwater collection. So anyway, back to McSweeney. So he was made chief of staff after Sue Gray's exit in 2024, which was, I mean, it was a bit of a weird thing that happened there. It was just like, why is she going? What's she done? What's she done wrong? I didn't really understand at the time what the problem was with Sue Gray. I thought she was okay as a chief of staff. I mean, I suppose for the other argument is she hadn't done anything like I had gone, oh, wow, that was a really great idea. But then at the same time, you know. But being chief of staff, this placed him at the centre of Downing Street, the Downing Street Authority, and he was a gatekeeper for access to the Prime Minister, for information flow, priorities, political management, and he was a key influence on political positioning. He was associated with arguments for tougher messaging on immigration and crime and electoral appeal. He was also a lightning rod within the parliamentary party. Many MPs politically on the left viewed him as emblematic of factional control by what they call themselves actually, Blue Labour, which is a group within Labour which is trying to pull Labour towards the right. That's not great. Don't want Labour to be pulled towards the right. The other thing he did, right, which I've got the inside track on because I've spoken to people who have been involved in all this, he made it very clear that any government comms, he had to approve, right? He had to write off on these comms, which is one of the reasons why you might get some really good backbench MPs. Sorry, but you might get some backbench. They might be really good themselves, but I was going to say you might get some really good videos and content, social media posts and stuff coming from backbench MPs, but the front bench, I try and look for some stuff. I mean, you find some stuff great, but I never saw anything from Angela Rayner when she was Deputy Prime Minister. You know, I didn't see them making their own stuff and putting it out there and promoting the government and what they were doing. And that, you've got to think for a moment, like, what's the reason for that? And I'll tell you what the reason is, probably what I think, right? Allegedly. I mean, when I was traveling years ago, I made a TV show. And at the same time, the production company of my TV show wanted to have a veto on my videos that I made. I was making videos each week while I was traveling. I was editing them together on my little laptop in the back of a bush taxi, bumping my way through Guinea, you know, editing on my computer with my headphone in. And they said, no, we want you to send it to us, and then we'll check it's okay, and then we'll watermark it, and then we'll put it up. And I was like, that process is gonna take weeks, because it would. They're not gonna employ someone full time to do that shit for me. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's it. And they're like, yeah, but it's all right, because, you know, I'm like, but I want to be doing this with my blogs. I want my blogs going up on my website, theodysseyexpedition.com, and these videos going up at the same time. And they were like, no, we can't do that. So I ended up not making any more videos after week 26 of my travels. And so the first half year, I was doing videos each week, which was doing really well. This is back in 2009. My first Odyssey video, it got over 500,000 views. It was on the front page of YouTube. Not like of my YouTube, you know, it's all the way tailored to you. This is if you went into YouTube on incognito mode in another country, because I was in another country at the time, and it would come up on the first, for a couple of days, it came up on the front page of YouTube. And that all got thrown away. All that momentum that I built up. It's so frustrating. And it's because someone had said, oh, we don't want Graham shooting his mouth off about whatever. We need to make sure that if we're going to associate with this guy, he says the right things. He says the right words in the right order. And doesn't drop the C-bomb, which I didn't, but, you know. And for a certain extent, okay, I can see their point of view. But from my point of view, I was like, you're living in the past. We have the ability now on our phones. I didn't have a phone at the time. It was all filmed on a camcorder. It was all, on tapes. Jesus Christ. I had to load the tapes up, press play on the tape and then record it onto my computer, which took an hour for each tape. And then I could start editing it, right? And so, like, from my point of view, it's like, this is the new world. Everyone can just travel with a recording studio and an editing suite in their backpack, which is what I did. I'm like, you need to understand the immediacy of this stuff. You want to take people on the journey with you. They don't want to watch your journey from 6 months ago. It's not interesting. If you're like, I'm going to be here tomorrow, and they've just watched a video, and then you're there. That's really cool. That's really sexy. Well, I think it's really sexy. And here we are, like 15 years on. And it feels like the mistakes that I feel like people made in the past, not necessarily just with me, but with other stuff, when it comes to what you put on the internet and the immediacy of that, I feel like that they missed the trick. I feel like they missed the trick back then, and I think the Labour Party are guilty of exactly the same thing, of saying to these ministers, members of the government, no, you can't make your own videos. You can't get someone on board who's going to shoot stuff for you and make really cool stuff and explain what the government's doing and all that kind of stuff. It's got to go through number 10. Who does it have to go through? There's like bottleneck, and it's going to be Morgan McSweeney. Now, Morgan McSweeney is just one person. Okay, he hasn't got time to watch all these videos. He hasn't got time to check all these posts. Of course he hasn't. And therefore, people just didn't bother posting. Because they were like, well, what's the point? By the time my comment on something stupid that Nigel Farage has done, by the time it goes through the process, it's going to be 6 months down the line. No one watches these videos. The video that you're watching now, right? I can see the stats on all this, right? A video that's been a week old on this channel, nobody watches. Absolutely nobody watches. It's one of the other reasons that I moved across to doing full live streaming on this channel, is because there's just no point in making a video that I spend all day making, and then it doesn't get promoted by YouTube for whatever reason, probably because I dropped the C-bomb or something. And then I've wasted all that time making this video. And then even if it's successful, even if it gets 20,000, 30,000 views, and loads of people arguing in the chat and all that kind of stuff, yay, great algorithm. A week later, it's old news. No one's going to watch a video of me talking about Trump's machinations over Greenland from last month. No one's going. I mean, one or two, maybe. They like the sound of my voice or something. Maybe they're really weird. But yeah, I blame McSweeney a lot for this, and this is why This is really why I hope that this is a real opportunity for Labour to turn the ship around. Because at the moment they're going to the waterfall at the end of the fucking at the edge of the world. That's where they're heading at the moment. Forget the iceberg. It's bigger than that. So obviously the Mandelson controversy escalated dramatically in the last week. Police have now opened an investigation into Mandelson. Starmer has publicly accused Mandelson of misleading him, and therefore, that is misconduct in public office. Absolutely. McSweeney was closely linked to Mandelson politically, and also he was widely described as his protege and his supporter. MPs began to openly demand consequences for the fallout from this appointment of Mandelson as the ambassador, which is the stupid thing that they did. They did this, and as I argued with Phil, and I know some of you believe me, and some of you are on Phil's side, and some of you are like, well, maybe you both got a good point. But at the end of the day, I think that it was a bad idea for them to put someone into that position anyway, especially with the baggage that he had. But oh my God, the baggage that he's got now that we know about because of the Epstein files being released, it's however bad you thought it was, it's even worse. He took government secrets in a time of government crisis, financial documents that were absolute, and financial conversations that were going on at the height of the bailout of all the banks and financial institutions in the wake of the credit crunch, the credit crisis. He was back channeling what was going on to a foreign agent who's possibly working for the Russians, was a convicted paedophile, and was a gobshite. I mean, just across the board. Several Labour backbenchers have been calling for McSweeney's removal in the wake of all this. Opposition parties have obviously targeted the appointment of Mandelson relentlessly, and his presence, Morgan McSweeney's presence, has kept the focus on who recommended Mandelson. And who was it? It seems, from his resignation statement, it was Morgan McSweeney. So there's now a clear individual who's taking responsibility, but Starmer loses one of his most trusted advisors, political operators. Downing Street's internal structure is obviously going to be disrupted by all this. The government, the government's got to appoint or confirm a successor. And this resignation demonstrates vulnerability, and also demonstrates the lack of forethought of this particular Labour government. It's so frustrating seeing this government with a 150-seat majority, and they're doing fuck all with it, They could be going crazy. They could be doing some really cool shit right now. They have 150 MP majority. They could do stuff that some of the MPs in their own party don't like. As long as at least the number of people who don't like it doesn't get above 74 and vote against it, they should be fine. But who's this? Who is this on the line? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Is that Graham Hughes?
It is. Is that Mike Dix of Mike Dix fame?
It is. I've been sent to do an intervention on your rant about Morgan.
Oh my God, who sent you?
It's a bloke called Graham Hughes.
Oh, what a twat. Well, it's
How are
good.
you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, not so bad today.
Excellent. Well, we've got a message here from SG saying Pippa Carrera, who was the person who broke this news, by the way, on Twitter today, hearing that Starmer is considering making Vidhar Alexson and Jill Cuthbertson Morgan McSweeney's deputies, his joint chiefs of staff. What the fuck? Okay. Well, we need to look these people up, don't we? And find out who they are. I was just coming to the point where I was talking about... okay. All right. She's a political aide, British Indian background. Okay, cool. She holds a degree in modern languages from... Okay, I'm just checking who they are. But yeah, I was going to talk about... I think we all know, why McSweeney's left. And we thought... We all thought this was coming. But then we got this big unanswered question now. Who's going to replace him? I think SG's mentioned...
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the thing... I mean, I was watching the first half of the show, and And I've been watching, obviously, all the coverage this weekend. And as you know, on Friday, I was saying this was probably the inevitable outcome because I think the rebels within the Labour Party were calling for some form of blood and not quite calling for Starmer to go, not the sort of the more mild rebels anyway. But this was definitely the thing Starmer had to do politically in order to
Yeah.
get through the weekend as much as anything else. The problem is, for me, is that Starmer's project was pretty much created by, in fact, McSweeney was a project looking for a leader,
Yeah.
and Starmer appeared at the right time, basically, and I don't think there's a similar machine within the Labour Party that's been planning for this to happen. So what does Starmer do? Does he just pick up the pieces of the machine that McSweeney created and carry on? Which sounds like, from what somebody's just said, that might be what's happening.
That,
Or does he go for a solution that actually deals with the problem at the heart of all of this, which is that Starmer, to my mind, we've been saying we've been going backwards and forwards in the politics social chat, haven't we, today? And I think there's a as you say, there's a lot of grey areas, and Sue Gray being one of the areas
hey, see what you did there?
talking about. So great.
Very good.
But it just seems to me that was the beginning of this problem. McSweeney, I'm going to give credit to everybody in this, right? I think I voted for Starmer as the leader of the Labour Party because I thought the Labour Party needed to clean up its act after 2 election losses, and certainly in my local Labour Party, it was a toxic environment at the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And that needed to be cleaned up if we were going to face the public and ask for their votes.
Yeah.
And McSweeney had a track record of doing that in Lambeth. And he's a political operator. Whatever we say about him, I heard what you said in terms of him getting all the credit for that election. I genuinely do think that he is responsible for the majority of the thinking that went behind reshaping the Labour Party under Keir Starmer, because he'd done all that work with Movement Forward, or whatever it was called. And
Labour Forward, wasn't it?
Labour Forward, yeah. He'd done the preparation work to give it what does this party need to be electable, which is exactly what Mandelson did with Tony Blair 30 years ago.
Wasn't that Alistair Campbell more than Mandelson?
No, Mandelson was behind a lot of that.
Oh dear.
I mean, Campbell was brought in because of the spin. Again, and it's the thing that the Labour Party is missing now, is that they don't have an Alistair Campbell to combat McSweeney.
Right.
McSweeney's in charge of the press narrative for the Labour Party and the government.
Yeah.
And he's got nobody in there of equal power to stand up against him, which is what Campbell's role was. And whatever we think of Campbell, I was watching it. I sent you a link to a video.
Yeah, I watched it. So Alistair Campbell this afternoon made he did the rest of his politics just on his own, talking about his personal feelings about all this. He genuinely looked upset. He genuinely looked heartbroken by everything that's happened. The fact that Labour have done fuck all. Well, they haven't done fuck all in the last 18 months, but they haven't achieved half as much as we really wanted them to, and they've upset and alienated a lot of the long-time supporters in the process.
And I think that's one of the big problems with that mechanism, which is that the team that you need to make yourself electable and become elected is not the same team that you need to govern. And in this case, McSweeney fought Sue Gray in a power play right at the beginning of the Parliament, when in an ideal world, I genuinely believed that it was a good appointment of Sue Gray because of her connection to Partygate, because of the
I
fact
agree
that
with
she
that.
stood up against corruption and illegality in 10 Downing Street, and it gave her a position, and she understood the civil service. She was a full-time, forever civil servant who understood how it worked, and how to make it work, and that's important. McSweeney didn't know any of that, just none of it. Basically, he's got no attention to detail. I'm told that he's probably ADHD.
Hey.
So would either you or me do a good job of being chief of staff of the government? I don't think so, basically. But what he was good at was coming up with campaign ideas and ways to shift the Labour Party away from the Corbyn years, whether that's good or bad. I'm sure there's some people in the chat that preferred those years, but it wasn't electorally successful, and he shifted the party's image to a place where it could win, and it did. And despite the fact that I think it's possible we could have stood a donkey against any Tory candidate, and they would have lost, basically. I'm not sure that's actually the case, because Labour was made electable, and Farage could have done the same job in that case,
Yeah.
So Labour did come up with a position to say we are the sensible government government instead of the Tories. Whereas look at where we're at now, a year later, you're looking at the polls, and if you believe them, Farage is the one that's saying that, basically, and people are believing it.
Yeah.
So I think McSweeney did a good job of that, but I think the problem comes down to Keir Starmer's judgment. In general, all this weekend is about Keir Starmer's judgment, isn't it? And it boils down to the fact that his judgment in the Sue Gray issue was right in the beginning, and then he was persuaded by the internal fight that it would be okay to let McSweeney run everything. In an ideal world, the compatibility of Sue Gray and McSweeney would have been perfect, because she actually isn't a political animal at all. And she is just a civil servant, a very good one. And she should have been allowed to get on with making government do what McSweeney and Starmer wanted it to do. And I think that's where McSweeney's come unravelled here. He's got too much power, and he's a political animal entirely. And then he makes a political appointment into the White House that for a chum, a mentor, somebody that guided him all the way through. And you can't blame McSweeney for going to the last successful Labour guru that got a three-term prime minister elected. He's also very close with a lot of Obama's people that got Obama elected. Basically, it's a political role to campaign, and I worry who on the left is in that role at the moment in the Labour Party. They've got a window of opportunity of power within the Labour Party. This is not even about Westminster politics. This is about Labour Party politics.
Yeah.
And the left at the moment are resurgent in a level of power that they've not had since Corbyn's time, to lay down some rules about how this party, and they've been stung by this for the last couple of years. They were in power, and that was taken away from them very quickly within the party by McSweeney.
Well, come on, it wasn't taken away very quickly. I mean, the last leader of Labour had 5 fucking years. He was
at the end. At the end, it was
so
quick.
4 years. And
there was a quick solution in the end.
But this
is the thing about the narrative at the moment. The Labour Party traditionally does not change leaders in mid-course.
Well, this is the thing. Like these people who said that the last leader wasn't given a chance, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
he was
we let
leading
him
for
lose
4
2 elections
years.
before anybody
two general
stood
elections.
against
They lost 2 general elections, a referendum. They lost an EU election, and they lost thousands of councillors. And I'm like,
and
at what point do you just go,
process,
this is not popular?
Exactly. Yeah, we've got a 170 majority or whatever it was at the beginning of all of this. We haven't had any major trouncings in local elections yet. That may happen in May.
Yeah.
And then you could start to ask questions about Starmer's leadership, basically. But, at the moment, none of us want a protracted Labour Party internal election, basically. It's just not going to make any sense. And who do you put there? Who has got a vision, a team, and a voice that would replace Keir Starmer and give the Labour Party credibility? I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of names being bandied around, but I'm not sure any of them are. Burnham, the king across the water, didn't manage to get into Parliament. Probably has got a machine behind him that could achieve all of this, but he needs to be in Parliament to do any of that. Rayner has still got HMRC hanging over her head at the moment. And if you were being politically savvy as the leader of the party that was under threat from Angela Rayner, you might encourage HMRC to take their time for sorting that one out, basically. So, and then, who else? West Streeting. I hate to bring the name up, but West Streeting's a Peter Mandelson acolyte. So.
Yeah. So this has ruined him, actually, in his machinations. I love that word. But we had a question here from SG saying, why was Sue Gray sacked? And I don't really know. I know that there were people briefing against
McSweeney hated her.
Yes.
They did
okay.
not
Yeah.
get
there you go. I was going to say that was. But she
And
got the
McSweeney
blame for
was
shit. Like, there was a line at the time where they said, we're renationalizing the trains and nobody knows because she's not, they had this thing called the grid, which is like, it's when the government go out and talk to journalists and have press conferences and all that kind of shit. And the chief of staff controls that. But then the guy who replaced her, Morgan McSweeney, I think he was even fucking worse for like not telling anyone any of the good stuff Labour was doing. And I could sit here for like an hour with Phil and he could rattle off from the top of his head all this boss stuff that Labour were doing. And when you actually looked at their website, you looked at their comms, you looked at what they had said in press conferences, you didn't get any of this stuff. Not in a digestible way, for the wider electorate. So, yeah, I found that whole Sue Gray thing pretty... I think it's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And, yeah, if people are saying, well, if the only reason why she left was because Morgan McSweeney hated her, maybe she would be good to bring back. Oh, no, we've lost. We've lost our friend. Where's he gone? Come back, Mike. We've lost Mike. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said. He's off to, I don't know, find the wizard or something. The wonderful Wizard of Oz. So while Mike is fixing his I don't know, technical issues or whatever is going on there, I'll just say a big hello to who else we got in the chat. We've got Graham Price there. There was one benefit. It stops balloon face anti-trans streeting from getting any further up the ladder. Yeah, there's got to be some good things about this. Like the fact that Sweeney's gone now. Good. I'm glad that he's gone now because I wanted him gone ages ago because I think he's fucking useless. I think we need someone in that role of chief of staff, and you can expect it amongst more than one person. But I think you need someone who's a bit fucking tech savvy, who knows the lay of the land when it comes to getting information out that the government needs to tell people. Oh, my friend Mike is back. Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Sorry about that. I had a major power crash there. I don't know what happened. Maybe they've got to me. I'm even on a different camera because my camera's packed up.
It happens to the best of us, mate. Literally just happened to me at the beginning of the show.
There was me taking the piss out of your internet at the beginning of the show.
Cheeky sod. Have you got your internet off Wayne to this week? No. Sam says,
sorry about that.
Hi, Graham. Loved your heated discussion with Phil from yesterday. It's a British quality to talk like that and still be friends after. Yes, someone said in the comments, and I normally try not to read the comments because if someone leaves a nasty comment, I usually snap back at them. It's not the best use of my time. But yeah, someone left a comment saying, oh, bloody hell, this is like being around a family dinner table or something. It's like listening to two brothers fighting over something. And I was like, yeah. When I was growing up, that was the Hughes family dinner time. Like Sunday, we'd have a roast and everyone would crowd into the house together, and there would always be a Barney. Like half the family were a bit lefty, and half the family were a bit righty, and it was just
I like to have a Phil argument every so often because it does make you. He's a very intelligent guy who follows politics deeply, and much more so than me. And I think when you feel strongly enough to take on Phil and say, no, hang on, mate, basically, what about this?
Yeah.
Then you really have to perfect your argument before you take him on. That's the thing. It's and he can.
He makes you think. He makes you think on your feet, and I think that's really. And also, the fact that like at the end of the meal, like me and my family, it's just not like I'm never talking to you again. Go away, get out my life. It was just like, all right, so are we going to watch, something on the telly? That's the summer wine.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's nice. Reverend Kathy has dropped £2 in the super chat. Pass the collection plate round again, Graham. Oh, thank you, Reverend Kathy. Yes,
thank you, Kathy.
The collection plate for the Sunday sermon. I didn't realise that the super chat thing there is a bit over my face. I'm going to move that to the middle. For Yuri Infected Of's £5. Thank you, Yuri. That's very kind of you. Let's put that there. Labour has the opportunity to do something bold now that McSweeney is gone. And I was just discussing this just then when you went off, just saying like, I'm glad that he's gone. I'm glad that McSweeney, because I feel like this is an opportunity for Labour.
Yeah,
and
I do too.
I really hope they fucking seize it.
Yeah, I hope they do, and I hope Starmer can buy himself enough time to do it well, basically, and that's the thing. Somebody in the chat mentioned something I was talking about earlier today, which is that I think, people like Gordon Brown, maybe Harriet Harman, maybe they should all be brought into an advisory role to somebody doing this job. You don't, this idea that it might be a bunch of McSweeney's acolytes that take over, a bunch of 20 or 30 somethings that do it. Not sure that's the best thing. You need a bunch of those people working in that department.
Yeah.
But I think the thing at the moment is to put across, I think you've got to own this thing. I think trying to avoid it is a nightmare. Starmer, if you think about it, Starmer was entirely elected on, we want to do competent government.
Yeah.
We want to get rid of the kind of disgusting Partygate stories, the story that brought Johnson down in the end in terms of Pincher, another sex scandal, the corruption. Look at the way Liz Truss has gone since she took money to put the worst budget together in the world, basically. The idea that Rishi Sunak's family benefited enormously from being in government.
Yeah,
his father-in-law, and his hedge fund. All of that was what Starmer was elected on.
His wife saying that she didn't live in Britain; she was a non-dom, living in fucking Downing Street, living
and the problem,
rent free in number 11.
And this is the problem with left and right politics at the moment: is that you can have a Boris Johnson or a Donald Trump on the right because they don't pretend to be morally strong characters who do the right thing and are doing this for public service. They've never pretended to be that person. But when you do say you are that person, you have to fucking be that person, and the problem with, think about right in the early days with Starmer, there was that story about him taking a couple of suits and a pair of glasses from a millionaire. Who then had meetings in number 10. There were the Taylor Swift tickets. Now, at the time, all of us said, I think he had a box at Arsenal as well, didn't he? That he was allowed in the box, and now he sits on the stands just because of that, the political optics of that.
The new Taylor Swift video is fucking boss, by the way.
I didn't mean to open up the Taylor Swift rabbit hole.
Oh, mate, I'm gonna defend.
Because I'm gonna have to have another crash on my computer if we start talking about Tay-Tay's latest album, because I can't contribute to that conversation. But here's the thing. At the time, I thought, look, by comparison, this is ridiculous. Boris Johnson was paid by Bamford, the guy that runs JCB, to use JCB tractors in all of his publicity stunts, and then given a mansion when he was broke.
He's given a loan of £800,000. We still don't know where that came from. We know who broke the deal.
The level of Johnson's scandal and was disgusting. But the point is that actually it is as bad. If you can buy Starmer for a pair of fucking glasses, then that's even worse. The Mandelson story to me is just how cheap he seems to have been. I mean, at the moment, we haven't got all the details of this because, this house in Camden cost £8 million. So and he got a mortgage guarantor for that. So there's a question. He has an estate in Wiltshire.
I hope he goes down. I really hope he goes down for misconduct in public office and for breaching the Official Secrets Act. And someone said, the maximum sentence was like 2 years now for misconduct in public office. There is no limit on what the sentence can be, depending on.
But it's not only that, right? I just posted about this as well. That every news report that you see at the moment, the journalists are very carefully saying, Peter Mandelson says that he denies having broken the law and was not motivated financially in any of the choices that he made, right? It's a very carefully crafted legal thing that they've been sent to say to protect their arse, right? And they're saying that every single time. And you have to ask yourself the question then, okay, well, if you weren't motivated by the money, what motivated you to hang out with a known fucking paedophile in your underwear? What was it that made you do that? Why did you send him secrets from Gordon Brown's government if it wasn't about money? What else is it, Peter? What else do you want to tell us about this? And the fact that he's a known liar in public office and he's lost his job twice as a result of that means that when he says, I didn't break the law and I wasn't motivated by money, you go, you're basically lying. Yeah. You're a liar. Yeah. We know you're a liar. What was it about the liar that convinced you he was a liar?
Yeah. We got two super chats in. First of all, someone saying that stop making sensible arguments and discussions. We want to talk about Tay-Tay. That's it. So we're going to talk about Tay-Tay.
Okay, all right. Here's controversy for you.
Yeah, go on.
She's a billionaire.
Yeah. Go on.
Are all billionaires?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we give them a medal, tell them they've won.
Do we
and then we push
eat the rich, or do we only eat the right wing rich? Basically, should it be possible for that woman to be a multi-billionaire? Is that fair in any way on anyone in the music industry? Your friends in the music industry, is it fair?
I think it's a bit like the movie Titanic, right? People really hate Titanic. They think it's the worst thing that ever existed, right? Like movie critics, like people who are well into their films, like this is a bag of shite. But that movie's success allowed loads of other movies to be made. The success of the Freddy and Jason films in the 80s and the Scream series in the 90s allowed Lord of the Rings to be made. You've got to see it from that point of view. What Taylor Swift is doing and what Harry Styles is doing and what even that knobhead Justin Bieber's doing in Canada, you know, I might like them or not like them, whatever, the music. But then when it comes to the actual music industry, the idea is that the more people get into music, the more people get into music. People don't just listen to one artist. And so I feel like any kind of music that's out there, as long as the person is a complete minge, like Nicki Minaj, she can fuck off. But like, do you know what I mean? Even if it's a movie that I don't like and I'm not going to go and see, if it makes a shitload of money at the box office and it allows that studio to make more movies, the next movie that comes along might be Sideways or Little Miss Sunshine or Being John Malkovich. I don't know. But like
Blue Badger makes a very good comment. I think your argument is reasonably okay, but I could say, you know, it's okay for some paedophiles to exist as long as there's other non-paedophiles becoming billionaires as well. But Blue Badger says, Blue Badger says, check their taxes are paid and dodged and figure out it from there. And I think that's absolutely true. Yeah, you know, true. And my guess with Tay-Tay is that she's paying the right taxes. If it turns out, I mean,
when she played in Liverpool, she gave money to the Whitechapel Centre, the homeless shelter in Liverpool. Right, and that's a charity that I support when I do Global
Epstein gave a lot of charity money to charity. But so anyway,
did Jimmy Savile.
I mean, a lot of them
okay.
hide their tax dodging behind their philanthropy.
I was kind of only joking about talking about this. No one asked for it.
It's well, at least I'm not discussing the quality of a last album. That's the point. But I think it's an interesting line that I've been talking about quite a bit recently. It's when do you step over a line into hypocrisy? When do you step over a line that says, okay, now I'm in this fucking club, right? And that's, I think, probably the biggest problem with Mandelson. Is I think he was just enamored by the wealthy. He said so, didn't he? 10 years ago or so, that he got no problem with the ultra rich. And I think he was just a fawning sycophant in that space. You know, one of the most powerful men in British politics, a lord, etc. Right? It pretty much achieved what you can. It's like Prince Andrew. You know, they got an elite status, but it wasn't elite enough for them. Yeah. And then when they're offered that opportunity to step into that world, they either take part or ignore what's going on around them. And I think the big story here is that we are, I mean, Jesus, you know, we're talking about a political leader's career being under threat because of an international cabal of paedophile billionaires influencing world politics. And the guy whose job is under threat, including McSweeney, the people whose jobs are under threat are not in the Epstein files. They're not paedophiles as far as we know. They're not taking money for any of this activity. They are not Donald Trump or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Bill Clinton. You know, they are. They genuinely are. I genuinely do believe Keir Starmer is a decent human being and wants to do well in public service. Basically, I've got problems with his ability to tell a story, to excite people into a narrative that we
to make that connection. He's got a problem with human connection. He always looks like a rabbit in headlights. He sounds like he's just an automaton. He sounds like he's just, you know, they boot him up, they press the button, and he says the words that he needs to say, almost in the right order. He does fuck his words up quite a lot, you know, and doesn't realise he's fucked it up. He does that all the time in PMQs. And I'd probably do it on here, do you know what I mean? Because I do talk a lot. But I try to catch myself if I said it. But before we go on, we've got a load of super chats that have all stacked up while we've been yakking away.
I think we got confetti while we were yakking.
We have got confetti. So Tim Ballum, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. They can start by getting in some real experts and sack the Treasury management. yeah, that'd be probably a good idea. Also, one angry Bacon saying Phil essentially lost his argument with me about human evolution after he couldn't name his source. Lol. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Whenever there's a discussion, right, with anyone, whether it's with me or with Phil or with Mike or anyone that you know, like, just because you disagree with them on one thing doesn't mean that they're wrong about everything. And this is one of the things that kind of pisses me off a little bit in the chat. Not the chat that we have now, but the chat that we specifically have on Fridays, because a lot of Phil's regulars who don't watch anything else on this channel come over for the agenda. And they'll be quite, like, scathing about me or Phil. And I'm like, stop having a go at us, like, you know, our personalities or whatever, or what we know. And I'm just sitting there going, I love Phil, and he's really, really, really knowledgeable about politics, right? But and so people look at that and they go, "Oh, well, Graham doesn't know anything because Phil knows everything." And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. I've got a degree in politics. He's got a degree in physics.
You and me are still friends, despite the fact that I think Taylor Swift is an appalling singer.
Oh my God! Really?
No, I'm just winding you up. Come on, talk about the super chat.
Do you know what? Talk about
the super chat.
No. Talking about singing, right? Brett Anderson last night sung "The Living Dead," the B-side, right? He sung it on his own with piano, and at one point he held the mic down, right, and just sung, and he filled the auditorium that we were in.
Wow.
And it was fucking amazing, like chills, proper. It's one of my favorite Suede songs anyway, but it was like proper. Just the whole audience went shh, and everyone just shut up, and we listened to him just belting out this song. And afterwards, Kat was like, "Bloody hell, the voice on him!" And I was like, "I know." Anyway,
you sent me down a rabbit hole just before we do the super chats.
Okay, come on.
How does Kat receive that? Like I'm fairly certain that she doesn't hear it the same way you did or the rest of the audience. So she feels it, I guess. Is she completely deaf?
To a certain extent. No, not completely deaf. I mean, there's very few people who literally cannot hear anything. When you get older, your hearing goes, and it all goes, right. So it's like you sort of lose your high frequencies, right, as you get older. But as you get older, with damage to the hairs in your ears and stuff, that are really sensitive to different frequencies, it's like turning down the volume on the TV, right? But in the kind of deafness that Kat has, it's more like, imagine a graph of all the sounds that you can hear, and people are normally like this, right? They can hear the whole range of sounds. She'll have complete dropouts at certain megahertz. She just can't hear that sound at all, but other sounds she can. So there can be like sounds that for us sound all right, but for her can be quite unpleasant because she's not hearing all the midtones in it or whatever.
So it's like compressed audio or something.
Specialized hearing aids, right, which cost a fucking fortune, which are not just turning all the volume up because she doesn't need that, but it actually works on the, what's it called? It's like a histogram, audiogram. It works on the audiogram of her range of hearing. So she can hear something akin to it. So when she's at a gig, she generally, it's loud enough for her to turn her hearing aid off. Because it is like belting out. But when she'll have them on quite a low setting, but she operates them on her phone. She's got the Bluetooth. I mean, they're quite clever. But she does experience gigs differently, and she experiences music differently. And here's a funny thing: like, she doesn't like me playing like the National, the Tinder Sticks, even Suede in the car, because she can't hear the lyrics. She can't hear the beautiful lyrics. She can't hear that. She can only hear the sound. And to her, I guess it must sound like a fucking funeral dirge. Do you know what I mean? It must sound like so fucking depressing because she's not hearing the poetry that you need in the song for it to make it work. So I always find that quite interesting. So yeah, it's fascinating. But it turns out the National have done a couple of songs with Taylor Swift. That means I can play them in the car now.
Yeah.
Or at least those two songs. George.
The thumbnail? What was the thumbnail for this one again?
It was about Morgan McSweeney and Tay Tay.
Let's discuss Tay Tay and Suede. Let's do that.
I've really got to make my stay on target animation, haven't I? Stay on target. George only, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Graham, although I kind of led towards Phil's side a bit, you were both fantastic and live stream was hugely entertaining. Thank you so much. Well, thanks for sticking with us, George. I know some people are like, I can't be dealing with these two twats arguing with each other.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't like doing it every week, and that's why I don't have people on the channel here who I fundamentally disagree with, because I just don't.
Yeah.
I
There's
don't.
no point in just having contrary people on. That's
Yeah.
Piers Morgan's modus operandi, isn't it?
Yeah. But I've been on like debate shows and stuff. There was one I was on. It was about travel, right? And I was talking about basically making the trains cheaper, and better. And I was against this Tory who was just going at me, going, "You just want to stop poor people going on holiday." And I'm like, no, I want like completely misrepresenting what I was saying. I was like, no, I want there to be an alternative, which is the train. You can take the train to France or Italy or Spain rather than flying, and it's cheaper for a family to do that. That's not the case at the moment. If you take your family down to Spain on the train, it costs like 4 times the amount to fly. But I didn't like the way they misrepresent what you're saying in that respect. So I don't like talking to contrarians. It's not for this channel. I want this channel to be like a safe space for us lot to just hang out and just be nice.
My problem in a debate is like I kind of should have gone to private school and Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah.
Because I kind of love the process of debate, but it also means that I'm quite happy to take either side in a debate.
Yeah.
Just for the joy of a debate, basically, and that's that way you end up with a Boris Johnson. Basically.
Well, I did debate. Well, I did debating in sixth form, and then in university, I represented the Manchester University in Oxford and Cambridge in the debates.
Right. Cool.
With Rob Rinder, Judge Rinder.
Oh yes, yeah, of course. Yeah.
He was our top guy. There was one debate that's always stuck in my head where I can't remember what it was. It might have just been in the university. I don't know if it was like for a proper tournament or whatever. But it was this house believes love conquers all, and were
you on the opposite side of?
No, I was in the audience. I wasn't part of this. So the proposition stood up, and Rob was in the opposition, and the proposition said we should legalize gay marriage. And Rob's gay, obviously, and he had to stand up and argue that they shouldn't, because you have to, as part of a debate.
But
you have to argue.
The beauty
but
he
turned it on his head. He said,
"Yeah, exactly.
We should get rid of all marriage because it's a terrible idea." And he completely changed the argument, and it was brilliant. It was just, he won anyway. It's not just gay people who shouldn't get married; it's heterosexuals as well. It's a ridiculous concept.
Marriage, the concept of marriage is now under question.
Exactly. So anyway, Tim Ballum, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. MCIPO, lose all pensions too. What's the MCIPO? Does anyone know?
Well, an IPO is a public offering, isn't it? Initial public offering. MC? What's
Microsoft.
That?
No, motorcycles.
Don't know. Have you seen it? Just for us to go off on I mean, it's related to the Epstein files, but Musk has just merged XAI and SpaceX.
Yeah.
In order to go public with the first $1 trillion public listing of a company that does fuck all except take government money as a subsidy, basically.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Before we go on though, that last that chat from Tim actually set off the confetti cannon. So here's the confetti cannon from about 20 minutes ago. So 3, 2, 1, confetti! Woo! And then we've got another 2 super chats after the confetti. First of all, we've got Urine Infecting Off, who says Starmer reminds me of the pull cord action man. Lol. Dead men tell no lies. He pulled it and it's.
Yep.
Do you know there was a group of radical feminists broke into the Mattel factory once in America? Do you ever hear this story? And they swapped the voice boxes from the Barbies to the action men or the G.I. Joes, as they're called over there.
Love it.
And so the G.I. Joes were like, you pull the string on them and they'll go, let's go shopping.
There used to be. I used to have one of those, and back in it was a record. There was a tiny little record in there, basically.
Wow,
that's how they put the voices
insane. On. George only, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Starmer was still the right leader in opposition. Yeah. Well, let's talk to the next part of this. Where does this leave Starmer now? As leader of the.
I mean, I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I think the rebels had their opportunity this weekend, and not enough of them came out. They were the usual voices, the ones that have been arguing he shouldn't be leader anyway. They were all heard, but there were none of the heavy hitters came out in his defence, and none of them came out against him. So it seems to me that that's under control. I think McSweeney's resignation speech, letter was so much. better than Dominic Cummings. If you look at the similar situation when Cummings undermined Johnson's government, really, didn't he, once he left, and then he sat on the outside sniping. I don't think McSweeney is going to sit on the outside of this sniping at the government, because I actually do think he wants a Labour government and doesn't want a reform government. And I think all the Labour MPs have to be asking themselves in their seat and nationally, does this open the door to reform? And if it does, then we should probably not fight each other. So I don't see them, and I don't see a credible leader of the internal opposition within Labour to go up against him. So for me, I think we have to wait until after the May elections to see what level of drubbing the government get in that, and to a great extent what level of success Refut gets, and we have to see what Starmer's response to that is.
Sorry, mate, I pressed the button. I've just started the live poll. This is Max's idea. So this is Max. You can thank Maximilian for this one. How long will Starmer survive? You've got days, weeks, years, or he's fine. So I'm thinking I would probably go for years, to be honest with you. I think he's probably going to be in for at least another couple of years.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think he might, depending on events, because it's I can't remember which prime minister it said it's events, dear boys, events. But Starmer has been plagued by international events since day one, really. Yeah. Right from the race riots.
How old's Macmillan? I thought it was Macmillan.
Yeah, it was Macmillan. Yeah. So, which is the nature of the job to a great extent, but some of them have been wacky Trump shit going on. So how do you cope with any of that? And this is a wacky Trump story, really.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure anyone would be as interested in the Epstein files if Trump wasn't all over them. I think it would have been another paedophile story, but I'm not entirely sure.
There's multiple countries around the world where we're seeing government ministers, MPs, or political figures. Even the Norwegian royal family have been dragged into this. I mean, it is just.
I don't know about you, but every so often I take a dive into the DOJ records just to search for something, or scroll through some of them. And the stuff that you uncover, like anyone that's gone in to search the database, type the word boys in and start reading all the emails. And it's like a lot of people argue with me, and I am going to put up a disclaimer as there is absolutely no evidence for this, basically. But a lot of people say, well, Mandelson can't have been involved in the sex trafficking side of things because he's gay. And you go, do you believe that the blackmailing paedophile Jeffrey Epstein was not capable of securing young, vulnerable boys as well? And then when you read the Epstein files, there are a number of entries in there about articles that he's saved about trafficking boys, emails that seem very dodgy in conversation with boys. And then a thing that I'm going to be very careful about how we talk about it, basically, but there are women in there writing to Epstein asking him to support their son's sports team or their son's drama class, and Epstein arranging summer camps for these people. And you have to question the women that are involved in asking him about these things. Do they not know? Are they not aware?
Or maybe they don't care because it didn't affect them.
I don't know.
And there is this thing, the overarching thing that no one's really discussing with the Melania film coming out. Who was it who introduced Melania to Donald Trump? Or rather, I should say Donald Trump to a penniless Eastern European lady who'd been brought over to America to meet with very rich, powerful men.
Yeah.
It was Jeffrey Epstein.
It was.
He was the facilitator. Tim, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Where are the internal FBI emails? I don't know. They said they're not going to release anything more now. How long?
3 million documents they're not releasing.
Yeah. How long will Starmer survive? So we got days. Only 8% thought that he's fine. So 23% of people think he's fine. Years, which is what I would have gone for, got 27%, and then weeks, 42%. And I think that people are thinking the May. Actually, sorry, I could only put 4 options. I wanted to put more because someone said, "Oh, you should have I don't know."
I think it hinges on the May. My personal guess is that he can survive for years. But I don't know, because once you lose your political Svengali, You know, you've got to be able to replace them with something else. If Starmer is the kind of person that needs that kind of person in his orbit, then who is that going to be? And you know, I think that's a big decision. It cannot be a 30-year-old intern in McSweeney's department. It can't be.
Yeah.
It's going to need to be some heavyweight thinker that's done the work, and I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
You know, because I love Angela Rayner, but I'm not sure that she's sat down and done a huge project on how you would reshape the Labour Party. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she has, but she's not talked about anything like that over the years. There isn't really a lobby group within Labour anymore that you would say was similar to McSweeney's operation that's been pushing for a different angle on the Labour Party, because, you know, part of McSweeney's job was to flush out a lot of those people, you know, Corbyn and his supporters. So I don't know. It's the May elections they're going to have to be focusing on now, and they're going to have to pull something out of the bag for that, something magical, in order to survive that at all. You know, as leader of the party, he's got to pull out something that the Labour grassroots care about.
What Starmer's got in this is he's got, I mean, you know, it's all over the front of the BBC News. It was a big breaking news story this afternoon. It's all over the Guardian website and the other websites. I'm pretty sure that all of the headlines tomorrow are going to be about McSweeney leaving. Yeah. So you got this
McSweeney
guy
had to go.
Very few people had heard of before this week leaving, and that's taking up all of the headlines, which I think is good for Starmer, because this is acting as a shield for him. Because the phrase that he used in his resignation letter is he said he took full responsibility for advising the Mandelson appointment. So that gives Starmer a little bit of wiggle room here.
Well, and also politically, it plays into the fact that Badenoch at PMQs, or, you know, I would agree with your assessment on Wednesday that she actually did a good job of bein opposition leader for once.
The first time.
She's handed the biggest scandal since the Profumo affair, and she didn't fuck it up, so that's okay. But you have to give her credit for the fact that she did handle it reasonably well. She actually used Starmer's technique, really. If you think back to when Starmer was pushing Boris on Partygate, he just asked the same question 3 times, gave him an opportunity to hang himself. And in this case, Starmer, on the 3rd attempt, revealed that he did know.
Yes.
And whereas Johnson never did. So I think Starmer's in a good position from that point of view, because she doesn't have anywhere to go on that. Yeah. But also she asked for McSweeney to go, and then McSweeney's gone. So the Tories can't argue that he hasn't done what they suggested. Yeah, she also suggested he goes, but she says that every fucking week.
Indeed. And Tim says the Epstein survivors are releasing this ad on the Super Bowl Sunday to send the message they will not move on from the largest sex trafficking scandal in the world. Good. I mean, good. I'm glad that they're not moving on, and nor should they feel forced to move on when there's so much more to be discovered. We are still at the tip of the iceberg here, and there's so much that was redacted, and we know that anything that said Donald Trump or Don't, D-O-N-T, as in Don T, got redacted. Yeah. So they went through it all, and they just took out. They didn't take out pornographic images or sexualized images of victims. They left them in
names of victims.
They left in names of victims, dozens of victims. They left because they didn't give a shit about that. They weren't looking for that. They were looking for the name Donald Trump, and they were taking that out. Ms. Paul Thomas.
Other names connected to Donald Trump. Yeah. Have all been redacted as well.
Yeah. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. What we need now is for HMRC to finish their investigation into Rayner.
And she's going to get cleared on that, right? So, I do think she's got a chance to build a strong position for leader in a year or two's time. But I also think that Starmer should bring her back into the tent as soon as that HMRC business is sorted, because she's been, you know, other than her intervention on Wednesday, which is actually the right political intervention to make. It's how the Labour Party were feeling at the grassroots and in the PLP. And it's how us voters were feeling, which is that, no, you need to be transparent. You need to get this information out there and explain yourself. Yeah. We all agree with that. Basically.
But, I mean,
you can't be dealing on the one hand with the Epstein files.
It was £30,000 of stamp duty that she avoided.
It's, you know,
and I mean, Nadine Zahawi, when he was, he only, you know, avoided £5 million
Nigel
of tax.
Farage, our next Prime Minister, avoided declaring £300,000 worth of income from his multi-million pounds of income.
The wife of our former Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, claimed that she wasn't living in the country and therefore only paid £29,000 in tax on an estimated £500 million fortune.
I come back to Starmer's glasses and suits. The problem is in the perception of the public. You know, the fact it plays into it. I think this scandal is very reminiscent of the expenses scandal. In that, I think it's incredibly difficult for incumbent politicians to play this game because they are all being tarred with the same brush here. It's living up to even if it's not true that all politicians are as bad as each other, they're all on the make, etc. And to an extent, I think this is the big opportunity Starmer's being handed, and this is what he should grasp, which is, well, that is to some extent true. Yeah. And there is a system that's been created that encourages politicians to step over those lines because it's like the fact that policemen earn considerably less than the criminals they're trying to catch very often.
Yeah.
And there's a line there that says, well, your public service duty, does it override your ability to feed your children? Yeah. And I'm not saying any MPs are destitute. They earn good money and get good expenses compared to the rest of us, basically. And I'm not making an argument for them being paid more, but we have a system that is inherently unfair on people that are morally strong. Yeah. If you're prepared to take £10,000 from a Russian agent to say, I love eating Russian oil, basically, then you're going to do all right out of being an MP. Yeah. And that's just, it just should be banned. I think Starmer could grasp this nettle, get Gordon Brown and get some old reliable faces and get John Major in. People like that.
He's a Tory, right?
They still have a level of credibility. Heseltine, right? They're put together an old sage bunch of heads who have been demonstrably uncorrupt throughout their lives. And
John Major was having it away with Edwina Curry, mate.
Not corrupt. That's not corrupt.
It shows a moral failing.
That's just a terribly
cheating
unfortunate
on poor old Norma. She's
decision.
waiting there to give him his peas.
You remember when that would have been a real scandal? Right. Nowadays,
a politician having an affair.
I mean, Farage has had multiple affairs. Boris Johnson had multiple affairs. Paddy Ashdown
stood up. He stood up. Paddy pants down. He stood up in Parliament and he just went, "Yeah, sorry, I sat down again." That's what you need to do. But politicians no, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. He didn't want me to do it. I was tricked. I was given a love potion. What could I do?
That's always the thing, isn't it? They're all human beings, right? They're all, God, this will be controversial.
Hey, Matt Hancock's only crime was falling in love. I think your crime was killing 20,000 fucking people, you gobshite.
All Boris did was eat a piece of cake on his birthday. Come on, haven't we all done that?
But yeah, the false equivalence that you're talking about is so frustrating when you talk to people and you're like, Boris Johnson had all these fucking parties when we were stuck inside, right?
Yep. Hypocrisy is the problem.
But they go, but Keir Starmer had that beer, didn't he? I'm like, yeah.
Not the same thing.
He had a beer in a meeting.
Not the same thing.
Where they were discussing what they were going to do.
But you have to look at it from the slightly disinterested public's point of view, and they all get a vote, whether we agree with that or not, basically.
Yep.
And if the story plays out that Starmer had a free suit and Boris Johnson had a free mansion, in a lot of eyes, they don't see those as different things.
Yeah.
And, because the scale of your corruption is is the problem here, isn't it, basically? And it's, the irony here as well is that we're not talking about, where's the police investigation into Prince Andrew? When's that start? Because he was actually involved in the paedophilia and the trafficking.
Yeah.
So and that's demonstrable. There's evidence of that, basically. Whereas at the moment, the only information we have about Mandelson is he has a poor choice in underwear, which he appears to be happy to show off to his female assistant in some way, and that he hung around with a paedophile and probably took some money or gave away some secrets. Fine, they're all crimes and they all absolutely need to be punished. But there is more evidence against Prince Andrew at the moment. and we're not doing anything about that.
Yeah.
So the corruption within our system is I think that's why Starmer has the opportunity. We should be. He says he wants Prince Andrew to go and give evidence in America. Well, I think he should have to come and give evidence to the Commons, and I think he should have to give evidence to the police.
Absolutely.
About this.
We got some super chats in, and then we got some super confetti news. So Andrew Ray, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Maybe the next advisor should be a comedian, e.g. Ukraine. So if you want to tell me in the chat which comedian you would like to be running the country,
why not?
Please
Frankie
let me know.
Boyle. Frankie Boyle.
Frankie Boyle for
Boyle.
PM. Brilliant. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Also, Edwina Curry handed the keys to Broadmoor to Jimmy Savile.
Well, yeah.
God, she's an embarrassment. She's a Scouser,
I don't like to keep reminding people.
Keeper. And Tim Ballum. Today's
the former Prince Charles was one of Jimmy Savile's best friends.
Yeah.
Read into that what you want.
Tim says today at Sec Kennedy backing McGregor, who was found liable for sexual assault in 2024. Right. This is about not you, McGregor. This is about
the boxer.
The boxer, who was found liable for sexual assault. Secretary Kennedy, I guess that's maybe RFK, maybe. Yeah, do you know what would be quicker to write RFK? It's fewer letters. I know what you're talking about.
Then we know what we're talking about.
Oh no, it might be.
Can I just reply to Brighton? Can I reply to
the,
Brighton and Hove?
The
actually,
Irish guy. Go on.
Brighton and Hove. Actually, you must be around the corner from me. That's nice.
Actually,
pop in for a coffee.
Actually.
You correct me to say Andrew Mountbatten Windsor instead of Prince Andrew. I'm firmly in the camp of the people that say no, we should call him Prince Andrew, because by birth he is still a member of the royal family. He is a prince, and the leaders of the elite of our country are there because Elizabeth fucked some Greek bloke, basically. And fundamentally, we have a country that is controlled by that level of elite within our system. Mandelson wanted to be a lord. A lord is one of the king's people. And fundamentally, I don't think reducing him down to the same as us and calling him by a commoner's name when he's blatantly not a commoner and he's blatantly still part of the elite family, that allows that family to separate themselves from his crimes, and they shouldn't be allowed to. If you can bring down a government by association with Epstein, you can bring down a monarchy in the same way. And we should keep reminding people that Prince Andrew is a member of the royal family.
Yes, that's Femi's argument. Femi did a really good video on that, because we've got to not distance him from the royal family, because they're culpable. They protected him. The Queen protected them, and we paid. Yeah. You say, the Queen gave him 12 million to pay off Virginia Giuffre. No, we gave him that. We're the taxpayers. Yep. It's not that the Queen gets some money from some magical.
We gave Peter Mandelson £40,000 when we sacked him as the ambassador.
Yeah.
How the fuck does that happen? And now they're saying they can't get that back. And some of his oppos on television today, some of his proxies, effectively, were saying, "I've told Peter that he should possibly give it to charity." And you go, "What do you mean you're talking to him? Why have you rung him?" And then gone on television, Pat McFadden. It's the guy should be locked up.
Yeah,
but by all means, let's go through due process. Let's make sure that we investigate.
Do we have to? Because they don't give us that, do they? They just shoot us dead in the street and say, "Oh well, they looked at me funny." Whereas we're like, it's got to be all the process. We've got to check. We've got to dot all the T's and cross all the I's. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not quite at the revolution phase, basically, but we're close, aren't we?
Close. I want more people.
I'm just not sure I could bring myself to behead Princess Charlotte yet, basically.
The damage that is being done by the neo-aristocracy to the middle class is just crazy. We always think of the aristocrats shitting on the working class, right? And the middle class sort of being in between the two, right? At the moment, the upper class, the elites, are taking things away. It's not enough for them to win. Everyone else has to lose. And I'm thinking of everything that they are allowed to do. So in America, you're American, your little daughter gets pregnant and she's only, she's underage, whatever, right? If you are poor, you're fucked. She's going to have that kid, right? If you're in a state that has banned abortion. If you're rich, You can just get on your private jet and go to another, go to another state, go to another country, and she can take the
Yeah.
morning after pill.
Fairly
problem.
certain a lot of that medical equipment
Yeah.
on Epstein's island was
Yeah.
not being used for dentistry.
Yep. If you are rich, you can get a private prescription for heroin. If you're not, you can't. If you are rich, you can go to Switzerland and fucking kill yourself. You can't if you're not. You have to just live in fucking agony for X many years because we're not allowed to have euthanasia in this country. But when we say that, it's not as though it's not an option. It is still an option if you are rich. When they take puberty blockers and HRT and surgical treatment away from trans people, it's not all trans people. It's just the ones who aren't incredibly rich. I mean, I'm not taking this away from the trans people who are incredibly rich. I mean, it's not their fault that they're rich necessarily, but they have the opportunity to pursue those things. But most of us in this country, the 93% of us that weren't born with a silver spoon up our ass, we don't get the opportunity to do that. And you think of like anything, justice, getting lawfare, criminal, going to your local Citizens Advice Bureau to get information about, having to pay stuff for your gas bill or your electricity bill that you can't afford or the debts that you've got. And we're seeing this time and time again. It's not enough for everyone to be able to have something. That pisses them off because the rich have got to this point where everyone's got a TV, everyone's got a car, everyone's got a house they can live in. So they're trying to take those things away from us and make these things unaffordable. Yes, you can have a TV, but you can only afford to have one streaming service. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we can't have a variety of TV shows anymore. No, can't have that. That's just for the rich.
Well, and also because they've got shares in all the streaming providers. Basically. So,
yeah. But like travel, like this annoys the living shit out of me. I speak about it a lot, but the fact that all the rich said, let's do Brexit. And they took away from you and me the right to go and live and work anywhere else in Europe that we want to go and live and work in. They didn't take it from themselves because they are rich and they can do it. And they can live and work anywhere.
It makes me tear up to think about this, right? But like particularly at the moment, I have every reason in the world to want to just this year to just fuck off and live in Spain for a while. Yeah. I've got a beautiful grandson. I've got another one on the way. I've got a girlfriend in Spain, and I've looked at it, and it's almost impossible to do because of my health situation and the cost that would all be associated with that, and my inability to earn as much money because of it, and all of that. Whereas if I had couple of $100,000 in the bank, could just do it. Basically, simple, easy.
If you earned what Nigel Farage, if you had what Nigel Farage earns in a month.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, am I prepared to do OnlyFans videos setting up the RAR? Probably not. Well, I've just said it. You can clip it for free if you want. Basically. But, I've got some standards. But no, it's the most frustrating thing that. And I can't be the only person in the country that has that kind of a crisis going on. The idiots that voted for that at the behest of hedge fund managers who didn't want to be taxed have voted themselves out of living in a warmer climate than this, basically.
And their children and their grandchildren. They took that away. They took away, and it's like the anti-vaxxers. They've taken away what they got when they were kids because their parents weren't so fucking stupid. They've taken that opportunity to not die of a preventable childhood illness away from their own children. And you're just like, how fuck? No, honestly, I do think that if an anti-vaxxer's kid dies, they should go to jail. That's it. For the rest of their lives. Because they've killed a kid.
It's murder.
It's murder. Simple as that. I don't give a fuck what your opinions are. You can't argue with a fucking virus.
And the problem... I mean, in a way, I think it's good that Mandelson has gone, that McSweeney has gone, that our government is responding to this corrupt cabal in the right way. We can all argue that they're not doing enough, they're not doing it quick enough, that they should do more, and they absolutely should. I think anybody associated with Mandelson in government needs to be looked into right now.
Yeah, agreed.
But the fundamentally, it still gives you a bit of hope that this country has got it right compared to America, and that we could start setting an example to America. If we did Andrew as well, properly, basically, then I think we would demonstrate it would give a lot of hope to Americans that you can do something about these powerful people. And I think that's what we need to do. We cannot forget in this situation, and I know a lot of people are saying it, and it's very difficult as a white middle-aged man to express this enough, basically, because it sounds a little bit like, will anyone think of the children? But fundamentally, this is a story of white, powerful, elite men
Yeah.
in a cabal of sex crimes and trafficking
International
with
cabal.
children. And they all persuaded each other that this was a fine thing to be doing, basically. And it's not, it's unacceptable. It needs to be rooted out of the system. And the fact that we're arguing about a bit of advice in number 10 and a leaked email about some market sensitive information is not the point.
Yeah.
Mandelson, by his actions, was supporting a horrific paedophile.
Yeah.
And he knew it. He knew that because he wrote to him after his court case saying,
making
"You're one
jokes,
of the best people
making
that
jokes.
deserve this."
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story in the Mirror. I don't know if it's true, basically, but Fergie, apparently slept with Epstein, according to that story. And there are emails where she begged him to marry her. It's not just
grim.
it's not just white men. It's horrible creatures like Fergie as well that cling on to power and ignore these kind of crimes.
Yeah, we've had a couple of super chats come in. Thank you very much to Tim, who says mosaic Down syndrome girl in Epstein files. Sick. That sounds really fucking grim. Thanks for the super chat. And then Ivan, £10 super chat. That's very kind. I see McSweeney has been immediately replaced as a job share by the two previous deputy chiefs of staff. Any thoughts on that? Temporary or permanent positions? Or will there be a single role again? Well, I mean, I'm not up to date on that. I was trying to look at the BBC to see if there's a new post about that. I'm just going to
I think that can only be temporary, and it's probably waiting for the May election.
Oh yeah, no, it's acting chief of staff. It's going to be acting. Yeah. Okay, so this was this is just as I started at 6. And this is 6:07. This is on the BBC site. 2 acting chiefs of staff appointed after McSweeney resignation. Downing Street confirms. So that's Jill Cuthbertson and Vidhya Alexson have been asked to be Prime Minister's acting chief of staff. Downing Street has confirmed. Downing Street has confirmed that the appointments of the pair, who were Morgan McSweeney's joint deputy before he resigned.
Starmer is going to have to do some, very. I mean, from what I know of the man, he does consult and listens to opinions, and I think he'll do that. And I just hope that he expands it beyond the male clique that McSweeney created for him within the party.
I like the fact that it's 2 women.
Yeah.
Don't like the fact that they were under Sweeney. I do like the fact it's 2 people, because I think that one of the problems with McSweeney, I think I was talking about this before you came on, was that he was he presented a bit of a clog in the system, a clot in the system, because all of the comms from the government, not necessarily Labour MPs who could do their own thing on TikTok or whatever, but the actual government, all of those ministers, if they were going to put anything out, it would have to go through him. And I just don't think he had the time.
Well, he's also not a media man. I go back to this argument that Alistair Campbell was a journalist for a popular newspaper at the time that he was recruited. And that was because they wanted somebody that could tell the story for them. And McSweeney is a campaigner, he's a politically savvy campaigner, and that's a different thing altogether. That's not about finding stories. In my personal experience, I'm involved with the Labour Party at a local level, and was involved during the election in trying to be part of a group that helped to do the social media campaign. And I ended up leaving it because I just said, particularly after the election, where we were just being asked to put propaganda out all the time. And, somebody in the chat has, Phil Nelson has kindly said, me too, but also comedy is a way to communicate and put across the more serious issues with the soft yet cutting-edge satire, ridicule, and cartoons aimed at me.
I agree with
that.
I
agree. That's what I try to do. I try to find a light-hearted way to share the news. Actually, in these podcasts, I tend to be a lot more serious than I am with the cartoons, basically. But that's because there's a political underpinning to why I do them. But I agree with you. I think satiring. My hero David Lowe was on Hitler's in Hitler's Black Book to be killed if Germany took over this country.
This was a cartoonist in the 1930s and 40s who worked for, which newspaper was it that he wrote? He
worked for the Express and the Mail, interestingly. So he was
for the enemy,
the right audience. But they published his cartoons, and Hitler had him down as somebody that needed to be killed because he depicted him as an angry little Napoleon, basically.
He was.
And That's my aim, is to humiliate these people with humor. But we need to do that, yes, and we need to keep it in the public eye, all of these stories, basically. But we do need to find a way to get serious about the way that we deal with them.
Yeah,
And I think
there's
Starmer
more
is
than
now
one
faced
way to
with
skin a cat. There's not like one. There's never going to be a one-size-fits-all solution to all the problems that we've got in life and the way that we communicate. And this thing works sometimes. It doesn't work. It's like when someone says, "Can you make a viral video?" And you're like, "No." Like if people could make viral videos, they go, "Yeah, this one's going to go viral." You just don't know.
I don't know about you, but I've been asked to do that on behalf of clients.
No, so have I. Can you
make a viral video for me? I go, well, if I fucking knew how to do that, I wouldn't be pitching for work for you, basically.
Anyway, we better wrap it up there, because I know that my dinner's probably in the microwave now, waiting for me to rewarm it up. So I thank you so much to my wonderful co-host, Mike Dix, who stepped in at the last minute. And if you want to get a copy of his book, The Trumpton Project, I really, really recommend it. Some of these are based on David Lowe's illustrations from his cartoons from back in the day. So you see you'll have something like that where it will show the David Lowe cartoon at the bottom, and then it's got Starmer on his own rolling up his sleeves. Also, while I'm here, worth reading, Manufactured Fear by our friend Alex Kerr, who runs the Politics X and Sunday Roast channel, and is a lovely guy and he's gorgeous. And also, I'm going to promote my mate's book, because this is Room 706 by Ellie Levinson. It's a debut novel. Apparently, according to Sarah Jessica Parker, it's as tender as it is surprising. So there you go. It's a thriller novel, a romantic thriller, I think. And yes, I haven't read it yet. I will, and I'll let you know. I'll give you an honest account. But they're all available from the usual miscreants, I think, if you know where to look. And I'll put the links to all of them into the description of this video after the event. Excellent. So
thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for all the super chats.
Thanks for the super chats. Thanks to everyone who's watching. Thanks to everyone who put a word in. Please give us a like on the way out. Go on, give us a like. We like a like. And I'll be back at 9:00 tomorrow morning for Morning Brew. And until then, what's this new thing? Oh, it's just the BBC's just put out McSweeney's resignation in 250 words. Do you reckon they just typed that into Chat GPT and said, "Can you sum this up in 250 words?" Probably. Anyway, until next time, thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.